Welcome everyone, Dr. Thor here. Get ready for Gnosis. Well, we have some very interesting and powerful breakthroughs that I'm going to show people here right now of working with what is, I consider, next level homeopathy, homeopathic preparations. I don't know how many people are familiar with this, but basically this is the use of energy medicine. This is energy. This has nothing to do with the physical whatsoever, particularly as defined by common physicists, the boobs they are, or any other spectrum out there to a large degree. And of course, the energy practitioners and the alternative people are just as messed up and just as confused as the regular people are. But you got to remember that energy works from the outside in, using energy fields and building them up, while regular traditional allopathic medicine works from the inside out, using chemicals and other things, but affecting the physical body. So it's night and day. And this was kind of defined in what was considered homeopathy. That's been around since the late 1700s, I believe. But that is a misnomer as well, because this kind of understanding of energy medicine using poisons, which have been neutralized down to just an energy, goes back thousands of years to the ancient Greeks, Romans, and of course, the Egyptians, who were known as famous healers. And even before that, all this information came from a priesthood, as you can kind of call it, these stone builders that went around the world with this. But unfortunately, most of that has been lost. But it certainly is nothing new, as the Egyptians were even, and I'm sure this was done with Greeks and Romans, etc., was even doing brain surgery and so many other things. So it's important not to isolate things into another misnomer that Hahnemann actually did anything other than put this down. Now, Hahnemann was a great, the person who discovered homeopathy, was a translator for most of his life, translating ancient Greek, ancient Hebrew, and everything else. So he was able to, there was 5 or 6 languages, and he was a translator and made his living that way, even though he was also a medical doctor. But made his living doing translations of old ancient texts for many, many years. And this is where you got the concept for homeopathy, and also copied most of it from these old Egyptian and otherwise Greek texts, which he was able to translate. Even the ancient Hebrew he was translating as well. So this is where it all comes from. I'm not sure it matters, but we have to be careful of giving credit when credit really isn't due. It's like everything else. Modern science, and when it comes to certain areas like the quote Radionics, giving credit to Abrams, and is really, yes, he started it to a degree in a formalized way, but the concepts behind all that go way back. He didn't invent anything, and basically what he was doing, nobody's doing today either. It's totally changed now for the better or worse. So, all these people are in this big stew, but what are we doing with our knowledge? We need to synergistically take our knowledge with modern understandings, modern tech, modern equipment, modern components, and bring it up to the next level. That's exactly what I've done here with what's now going to be called homeopathy next level. The next level homeopathy, which is what we're moving into, so we keep some understanding. There really should be a new term started, but that confuses a lot of people, where there are numerous books and preparations around the world based in homeopathy energies that you can buy in most countries, including all over the United States. So you can get these things easily but there's a problem there. We're going to talk about all that stuff in this very interesting, updated next level of everything. So we are moving away from, I'm having a little trouble changing my name on YouTube because of their screwed up systems, which is pretty common. But we are moving away from using the term radionics at all. It's really a misnomer. And I moved into that about a year or two ago because I thought it was a term people understood. But the kind of understanding that the radionic people have is so bizarre and so corrupted that it's not really a field that I even want to be labeled with, because of its satanic problems that we have right now. Started by Carl Weltz, who toxified this, and the many other practitioners of this now, who are just out and out evil people. But it's typical that you would take something that works to a certain degree and corrupt it. But it's a baby understanding. It's time to move to higher levels. And you got to remember homeopathy, which was based in a, quote, healing reality, is just using vibrations. We could call these cosmic codes, as I call them, often called in radionics rates. And you can get a cosmic code for anything. So homeopathy should not be only kept to what would be considered this vibrational medicine, this vibrational healing aspects. It covers everything from success to metaphysical protection to contacting any kind of energies that you want. So it's just a matter of connecting to those energies. And we explain all this stuff in great detail in the Great Path course that I have that has just been released, which is a fantastic course that I'm adding to all the time, which explains everything in great depth, which can't be done here. And really, if you're learning from me and you're not supporting this organization on Patreon or All Access, really, you're just kind of a thief. So the whole idea is that you should support people who have done amazing work for the last 50 years and put your money where your mouth is, where there isn't really that much. I mean, get updates and everything else, which are only on Patreon, is only $6 a month. And you can join the Force Physics Institute on our website for only basically is $10 a month. So you can't really beat that and be able to see actual equipment that has been taken apart. We look at all the machines. No one else has ever done any of this. We talk about it. We show you how to build things. So it's just a fantastic resource for those out there seeking this kind of information. But like everything else in life, if you don't support it, it disappears. So do jump in and do that. Do subscribe to this channel. That always helps. And of course, like it so we can get greater exposure on YouTube. We need to keep that in mind. So the whole idea is we're moving to the next level, understanding that homeopathy is about using vibrational energies, the non-physical, which, of course, and the non-electromagnetic, I want to add. Now, Hieronymus stated this, that these energies were non-electromagnetic. So did Nikola Tesla. And of course, the electromagnetic is pretty much a new understanding from scientists in the basically the 20th century, maybe the 19th. I'm not really sure when we got into this as we started using electricity. And electricity is the outgrowth of the creation from informational energetic fields, the occultons that create everything in life. And it's a very low-level energy, which can be generated fairly easily with our understanding. But it is a low level. The ancients never did that. There were no electrical cords on pyramids or temples or anything else. They had lighting inside. They had other things. They were using what we would call today the ether. All these non-electromagnetic energy. So we've got down into this very primitive, and to make primitive electromagnetic fields, in general, we have to use generators that require us to burn everything and cause lots of toxins. So it's a primitive caveman understanding, which, common science is really good at. I think the head of science is named Og. I'm Og. I have club here. Me make science. This is, of course, what we have, and we've allowed these egg-headed, dangerous psychopaths to create all sorts of horrible technologies and then pat them on the back for it and give them hundreds, if not millions of dollars. This all has to stop, and all going to be moving away from the electromagnetic into the energetic fields. It's as simple as that. And, of course, this is what homeopathy has always done and always talked about, the vibrations coming from it. Now, using poisons and other things, people didn't use large amounts of it. They used small amounts of it to trigger the body into healing crises to cure a particular disease. And it works very well if you know how to do it. And that's, of course, how homeopathy works, is that you're going to create these kind of things. And you can look into this further if you like. The basic information on homeopathy out there, homeopathic healing, vibrational healing, there's a lot of information out there, and I'm not going to go over that right now. We'll probably break these up into other lectures we provide to give you the next level homeopathy. But again, it's an energy field. There's an energy field for success. There's an energy field to protect you from negative energies. There's an energy field for contacting higher entities, God forms, etc. So it's just all encompassing. And of course, in the original homeopathy, this was never covered. But all the metaphysical, as we can say, uses of things are part of this new, bigger, next level homeopathy. Not only is it for working with vibrational energies from the outside in to promote healing and well-being, but it also is for everything else. So, and it's interesting how when you get into the practices of, quote, radionics, that usually practitioners are doing one or the other. And this is, again, an unbalanced bad path. It's not the golden mean, which is the center proper path. You're going from one thing to the other. So to think that there isn't particular types of energies around you that affect success and other things is kind of ignorant. And we all know this, and people refuse to basically do any of these types of understanding. So one field is here, wants to use it for vibrational healing, which of course Ruth Drown did and so many others. And then they ignore all the other stuff, and you ignore other life energies at your own peril. The bottom line is these are things you have to deal with. So all of these are very, very profound to go with any of it. And we need to do all that. So moving into the bigger aspect, and there's many different ways. Now, homeopathy, of course, is, again, taking energy in. Now, the primitive ways have been done for the last few hundred years have been putting energies into tablets, which, when I check these tablets, have very low energy in them. A lot of times they put them into liquids, and all these things have to be done properly, and holding energies in a tablet or a bottle is very difficult. And if you're not using some sort of minerals in there for the energies to kind of grab onto, these preparations tend to be almost worthless. So what you're charging them into is very important. And so you have to be careful what that is. A lot of things were sugar pills, just a tiny bit of sugar. Well, these are not really good things to charge things into. Things to charge that will hold are things like more mineral-based things. Things like salt, which is very good for you. We've been lied to yet again. Salt is a necessity for your life, and the right salts are good for you. If you're eating a whole bunch of garbage full of salts, well, you're getting too much salt mixed with a whole bunch of bad stuff, which people have problems with. But again, as we go into the research, there's really no proof that salt increases blood pressure or does anything else. All the surveys out there, all the great testing that was done out there, all conflicts each other, like everything else we have in life. Life is a giant confliction. Conflict. One says one thing, the other one says the other thing. Up is down, right is wrong. It's the same old story out there, and we need to fully understand that. So what you want to do when you're dealing with any kind of, and this means, we're not only dealing, again, with energies for vibrational well-being, we are dealing with the other energies of life. So let's make sure we combine all this together, because we all need a whole bunch of stuff that just isn't physical, or this vibrational physical. And remember, this is not medicine. Nobody should be using it. You should be. I'm a synergistic person. If I have a problem, I have no problem taking drugs for a particular reason. And you should try and get off these drugs just as you get off anything, and use alternatives that tend to be easier on your body. The problem is drugs really kick ass. So if you need a drug, you're really sick, you need an antibiotic or something, well, these work. And if you try and do it with herbals and other things, it's very difficult, especially if you're very sick. So we're trying to bridge that. So staying well is always the best thing. Don't wait until you're on the street to make sure you are financially secure. Make sure you're financially secure so you don't get there. So this is not a replacement in any way for any of that. This is an addition to your life like everything else. You just don't go to your doctor and tell him to keep you well. What do? You eat well, you exercise, you try and do things to maintain your health. And this is part of those natural maintaining of your health and using energies, which I believe in the future will be ruling most of anything. But to disregard that things like antibiotics, which have saved billions of people, and asthma inhalers that have kept people alive, and probably billions of people use that, is stupid ignorance to say that this stuff is terrible. The bottom line is that it's good for you for short periods of time. You don't want to take antibiotics all the time. You don't necessarily want to use inhaler all the time, but until you find an answer. And as we mentioned, if you look through our particular channel here, you'll find for asthma people, there is a method done by doctors to basically cure you of asthma using trigger points. So do check that out. It's been suppressed, but it's by doctors. That's who does procedure. It's not done by other people. These are MDs, medical doctors, and you need to find out for yourself. So. But this is something that in my personal life has been done and has cured the person of asthma. It's very easy to do. It's very low cost. And of course, throw that in the trash. So we all have to understand that and key into all the interesting things out there. So to use. So synergistic is the reality to everything in life. So combine the best of the best and create a new best of everything. And you use practical tools with knowledge and carefully. And you use, I should say, physical doctory type stuff. And then you use the energetic as well, combining this into a very effective system. That's the key to everything in life. So do keep that in mind. So one of the things there is, as I said, we're moving away from using that term entirely. And of course, we don't use subtle energy physics because that sounds like a weak-kneed, what a terrible, subtle. It's subtle. Are you subtle? So the whole idea is I don't like that term whatsoever. So what we've got to do is use a new term. And this is a force. Subtle energies or vibrational energies are very strong. They're very forceful. They're just not toxic to the point where if somebody hits you with an electrical field or radiation, while you don't necessarily feel it that much, these are very toxic, low-level energies that do make you sick and can kill you. Radiation can take months or years to kill you, even with its kind of energy field. So the whole idea is to think that something is subtle because it doesn't work instantly and has to integrate with higher consciousness and your energetic body field is an insult to that energy. But, we should expect that from the boobs that are out there that have pushed stuff for the last. And as I said, these are not only the common people, the common physicists from Mental Moron Institute of Technology, but it also comes from all those alternative people that are lost in their fantasy crystal holding, praying to some fake god reality out there as well. So all the alternative people are just as much to blame because they really haven't defined anything, they haven't stood up for anything, and they haven't done anything to speak of, except fill their pockets just like their counterparts in regular medicine. So we have to understand that and keep that very strong in our mind. So subtle energy is a terrible term. It's a force. So the new terminology for all of this is force energy physics. And that's what we work with here when we're dealing with homeopathy and any kind of energy medicine or energy, not necessarily medicine, but any kind of energy fields, period. So as I've mentioned, there's a much bigger aspect than just your physicality and your well-being. There's all the other parts of life. And why are some people successful and other ones not? Well, it's because they have strong fields around them that help them create success. And, success builds success, as the old cliche goes. So that's all part of the reality that is out there that we all have to keep in mind as well. So, This is part of the entire process. So how does this work? So now we're going to go into here is the actual application of the new way to apply homeopathic energies directly to yourself. And I found a great way of doing it, and we're going to discuss that in our next video. This is part one. We're going to go to the other ones. I like to keep things kind of down to a shorter level so that we are able to understand them better. When you listen to somebody for over 20 minutes or so, you tend to lose it. So this is part one of the new Next Level Homeopathy, and we're going to cover in the next part two practical applications.